What up everybody, it's your boy French Cooking. Welcome back to the channel, and this is Make Beats for Free on MPC. Today's free VST is called BFD Player by BFD Drums. Now, I can already guess what you're thinking. French Cooking, big dog, I have 1,000 drum kits. Why do I need a plugin for drums? I gotta be honest with you guys, is this a must-have VST for your collection? Not necessarily. You can make pretty much any style of drums that you want using drum breaks, one-shots, and effects. However, if you want a surefire way of making live drums that sound good, while having the ability to really dial in each aspect of the sound and having fun while doing it, then why not just give it a download? And let me prove it to you right now. Live drums fit nicely with vinyl records, and I found a sample in this album that reminds me a lot of Breathe by Fabulous. So that's the direction I'm gonna go in. Buongiorno a tutti! And speaking of live drums, I actually just realized I'm wearing a Rolling Stones t-shirt right now, so I didn't even do that on purpose. Anyway, let's get right into it. Here is the BFD Player plugin. This is what it looks like. Pretty cool, huh? You can actually see the drum set in front of you, which kind of adds to the fun aspect I was talking about before. So, all the drum sounds you could ever need. And I think the most powerful thing about this plugin is if you click on the mixer view, you can really dial in the sounds, especially the snares and the hi-hats. So take this snare right here, for example. You have your snare mic here, so by pulling it down, it's like moving the mic away from the snare, and pulling it up is moving it closer to the snare. And then you have all your effects here. So if I want more reverb, I just pull this knob up, and now the snare has a lot more reverb. I'm at 84 BPM, and I'm going to start with the drums, obviously, and I will begin with the snare and the hi-hats. Okay, that's a pretty decent bass line. Now I'm going to fill in the rest and add some tom fills as well. I'm going to save the kick for a little bit later because I really want it to snap in this beat, so I'm going to put it in its own program. Next, I chopped up the sample from this record and I laid down a pattern. If you notice, I don't have a chop on the one. So to fill in that space, I also put down some piano chords. To clean up the sample, I have a resampler, a little bit of reverb, some compression, and finally an EQ to cut out the lows, some of the highs, and then a frequency right here that I didn't like. On top of that, I also chopped up some vocals from the same record. And that's because I'm kind of trying to emulate the song Breathe a little bit, but in my own way. Now, the interesting thing about that song Breathe is that in the original sample, he's not actually saying the word breathe, he's saying something else. But Just Blaze tweaked it in the way that it kind of sounded like he was saying that. So Fabulous took that and he ran with it. Matter of fact, let me just show you what I'm talking about. The sample's from a rock group called Supertramp, and the song's called Crime of the Century. And listen closely. He's actually saying roll up and see, but the way that Just Blaze was able to manipulate the sound, it kind of sounded like Breathe. If you never heard the song before, I'll show you right now. Kind of crazy, right? It's pretty unrecognizable from the original sample. So back to my beat, I pulled some vocals from the sample, pitched it up, and to me it kind of sounds like he's saying push me to a life of sin. I don't know, you tell me. The Life of Sin might be a little bit of a reach, but it definitely sounds like he's saying push me, especially when the drums hit. Just you wait. So now with the kick in its own program, and I also added a crash to that same program, this is what the drums sound like. I still feel like I need to fill in where the sample is lacking on that first bar. So I just added the wah sound from a guitar. First one's E minor, and then the second one's pitched up to A minor, just like my sample. Sorry, I pitched it down to A minor, not up to A minor. As Just Blaze did with a lot of his beats, I included a sub bass in there as well, and that's really going to enrichen it and liven up that low end. Nothing special. Again, you can see that I start at E and then I move up to A because I found that going down to A for the sub bass was too low. Now I have a bit of a problem. I want a B section to my verse, but I didn't find another piece of the sample that I wanted to use. And I don't want to have to use a website for stem separation. So what I'm thinking of doing is using my own instruments in VSTs to kind of mimic the sample that I have, but like a more stripped down version. So probably just going to use a string for that. And I have the perfect sounding string to use for this beat because it needs to be a little bit more vintage sounding. So I think something modeled from the Mellotron is going to sound perfect. And I have that in Analog Lab. That preset is called Stereotron Strings. And for effects, I also put on a resampler as well. So it kind of sounds a little bit more similar to my sample, and some Bitcrusher to make it even more distorted. Here are my chords. I don't know, I did the best I could to listen to the sample and kind of match the same thing. You be the judge. And finally, to switch up the vibe a little bit and make this song my own, I added another string layer. This time it's a spiccato string from the Helix string ensemble from SINEPlayer. Okay, y'all know this is the best part. Let's hear it all together. Man, that was fun. Did you have fun? I had fun. It was fun. Hopefully I convinced you to give this VST a look. If not, well, guess what? I'll be back next week with another free VST, you ungrateful f***. Until then, remember to keep producing, baby. I can't get no satisfaction.